Hello everyone. So this is to do with the triple lock. You probably heard a lot about it. Now, to be totally honest with you, I didn't think a few months ago. This was talked about from probably beginning of last year too. But there was not that much said about it. It's only the last month, since after the election, there's been a lot of noise about it. During the election, there was no noise whatsoever. There was very little noise in November. There was a few, before November, there was a few talking about it before the election, just before it. But apart from that, there was nothing serious. This should have been a major thing in the election, because pretty much at the moment the triple lock pretty much means, for anybody that doesn't know, is Ireland's been a huge, obviously everybody knows straight away, Ireland has a huge role in peacekeeping, in sending troops abroad to peacekeep, to keep the peace in other countries, not by force or anything. They're just peacekeeping, trying to promote understanding and reconciliation with countries, and that's obviously very noble of Ireland, being a peacekeeping country that wants to preserve peace and wants to uphold peace. And I do think it's important. That's an important role for Ireland. Not many countries in the world can say that we were a peace-loving nation, that we never invaded any other country, never occupied any other country. We only have our own island, and I think that's a good thing for Ireland, because many other countries can't say that. But this is the point. The triple lock pretty much means beforehand, if they wanted to send troops, take for example, to Lebanon or to the Golan Heights, particularly in Syria, they would have to go to the UN, United Nations, and ask for a mandate pretty much to send troops to there. Right, and the UN would say yes, no, maybe, possibly. Same with the Congo. The UN asked for Irish peacekeepers, and that's what happened during the Congo crisis back in the 60s. And that's what happened back then. So it's always been the UN mandates it, first of all. Then it goes to the Oireachtas, the Dáil, and the Dáil votes on it. And then the Dáil does it. But now they're going to scrap the United Nations. And pretty much the Dáil will have supremacy in terms of this. And what I mean by supremacy, and it really should go to the people first. It should have went to the people by referendum, and I think the majority of people would probably want to vote, and there's nearly 80%, 90% of people would vote no in this. Nobody would want to. The only people, because again, you have to remember, and you have to ask yourself, if people want this, Irish troops to go to Ukraine, take for example, and fight in Ukraine and die in Ukraine, loads of young Irish people like myself, in their 20s, having to go and be blown up in Ukraine, for no benefit to the country, no benefit to any young person in this country. The only thing it would cause is pain and suffering, and Ireland for 800 years suffers pain and suffering under British occupation. During the famine, we could write the book on it, and even nowadays in modern Ireland we see people lying in the streets left to rot by our government, and Simon House expects young people to go over and fight in other countries' wars, and then when they come home to be left to rot in the street. Because again, let's be fair, they don't care about the Irish soldiers in the Irish army at the moment. They don't care. They couldn't give a damn. It's all about some kind of, I don't know what, it's been the best boy in the class to send everybody to fight and die in other countries. But not even that too. It's a part of another secret thing, I suppose, they're trying to do. But but they're trying to get the Dáil. So pretty much, I think it suggests at the moment, because the cabinet just approved this too, that it's about 50 members the Dáil has to vote. So the government have the numbers. The government has 80 seats or so, Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, and a few rural independents. When I say independents, they probably shouldn't. They should be kicking about huge fuss over this. But the independents are nowhere to be found. The government independents nowhere to be found. You think they'd be kicking up holy hell about it, but not a peep, not a whisper. But yeah, this I don't trust Simon House. Like, the first people that need to go to the front line, if there ever was a war, Simon House, God forbid, sends our troops to, let's say for example, Myanmar, where Myanmar's in the civil war. So take for example, we send our Irish troops to Myanmar to go and fight and die in Myanmar. Just for argument's sake, we send 20,000 men and women of the Irish people, and we barely give them a gun and stuff like that, told them to go out and do whatever. But the first people that should go is the cabinet, because let's be fair, Simon House, his children will be exempt from this. I wonder, who would be said to be the only Irish working class man and woman that be said to go over and slaughter themselves over in another country. Will Simon House send his children? Will he send himself to go and fight over there? Because they simply won't do that. Simple as that. They simply won't do it. I never seen a politician, even during the Iraq War and stuff like that back in the 2000s, there was no politician leading from the front. They're always over in their own country, giving orders and stuff like that. But there's none of them on the ground, fighting in reality. They're all looking at maps and stuff like that, but they're not fighting the war on the ground. It's up to the only peasant to do that. But a lot of people have different opinions on this. But as I say, it was established in 1955, the triple lock, when Ireland joined the United Nations. Peacekeeping, Ireland has a huge role, 60 years nearly of peacekeeping. More than any other nearly country in Europe, to be totally nearly in the world too. It's an insane amount of duty we have shown to the world in terms of peacekeeping, and it's important, as I just said at the beginning. It's extremely important for Ireland because we want to preserve peace in the world. It's Ireland's job really in the world, in my opinion, to uphold peace. It really is, and to promote understanding and reconciliation between countries, and not to engage with conflict and stuff like that. Because I think we know from our past and stuff like that, it only causes pain and suffering, and people to lose loved ones, and we could go on and go forward. But I do think Ireland has the most important role in nearly in the world in terms of this. Because again, as I say, we never colonised any other country, we never occupied any other country. We were always a peace-loving country that always wanted the best for everybody, and wanted the best in the world. And I think that's the best. And I think the thing about it is that it sets us fighting, killing people, and slaughtering people. And I think that's the majority of Irish people's opinion. That we want people to understand it. We don't want anything to do with it, and that we want understanding and peace in the world. And I don't think sending troops to war active places, because this is what they're suggesting, sending them to Ukraine and stuff like that, which is at war at the moment, like the Golan Heights and stuff like that. You could technically argue it's a war situation there at the moment, but recently enough, but not so much. And then obviously other places, Sudan and stuff, there's conflicts in Sudan, but majority of it is it's very dangerous. If we send them to Ukraine, take what's happened, it's very, very dangerous. Something could happen. It's the same what happened in the Middle East. We're very lucky that nothing happened recently in the Middle East when our Irish peacekeepers were over there too. We're very lucky that didn't materialise. But again, I don't trust the government. That's the main thing, I suppose, I want to get out here. That I don't trust them. They're not doing, in my opinion, I don't think they're doing the right thing. It's worked for the last 50 years. Why change it? Why change it? And I don't trust them. Simply, I do not trust them. I don't trust Simon Harris. I don't think he has the best intention of you and I, the Irish people, and particularly young people, because it's not going to affect the person that is 70 or 80. They can't go out and fight. It's going to affect the 17-year-old young lad that has his whole life ahead of him. That's who it's going to affect. But as I say, we should keep our neutrality served as well. But at the same time, we need to be prepared in terms of military capabilities. But doing this, I don't think it's any benefit to anybody, apart from anybody else but the Irish state, pretty much. But let me know what you think. I know a lot of people have very big opinions, and so rightly so, because we wouldn't ask. You think they would have asked the Irish people, what do you take in a referendum? Because it didn't go last time the referendum, they wanted. So we see. Hopefully maybe they do, but beggars belief. Thank you.